Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year. Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
Welcome to Houston, Texas. We're at Minute Maid Park, Game 2 of this 4-game series. The Astros won the game last night 6-4. They had a big rally in the 7th. They scored 4 runs against the Blue Jays bullpen and wound up winning that ball game. Houston has improved to 22-13. They have a 4.5-game lead in the AL West. Minute Maid Park, it's a beautiful ballpark. It's got an enclosed roof, and a train moves back and forth on the tracks above the left field seats. The Astros have taken the field, and the Blue Jays have to figure out how in the world to get things turned around on the road. Their road record this season is 8-12, and with that in mind, Brian Goins, the shortstop who's not playing tonight, took the lineup card up to home plate to maybe switch up the luck for the Blue Jays tonight.
That's one way to change up the mojo, isn't it? Get the hometown guy to bring up the lineup card, change it up a little bit. John Gibbons will do that from time to time. He'll send different guys up there with the lineup card to hopefully get a win for tonight.
Well, the Blue Jays are the best hitting ball club against left-handed pitching in all of baseball. They have a .318 batting average, and they have a 5-1 record against lefty starters, and that's who they'll face tonight. Take a look at their lineup. Travis Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion, and then in the fifth spot, it's Russell Martin. He's put up big numbers. Part of the reason this ball club has hit .318 against left-handed pitching this year. Got 4 extra base hits against the Southpaws. Same can be said for Danny Valencia, and he has hit well against Dallas Keuchel. 3 for 6 of .500 average with a couple of extra bases. He is hitting well against lefties as well. Danny is hitting .526 against lefties for the season.
One of those extra base hits by Danny Valencia was a home run off of Dallas Keuchel, who will get the ball tonight for the Houston Astros. He's 27 years old, and he is the Astros ace. Last start won his 4th game of the season, allowing a season-high 4 runs in that game in 6 2/3 innings. He did have 7 strikeouts in that game. He is currently ranked 4th in the American League in wins with 4, 3rd in the American League in innings pitched. He's won 6 consecutive decisions, which is a career high, and the Astros are 11-1 in those last 12 starts.
That's what you call an ace, a stopper, somebody that goes to the mound every night and gives your team a chance to win. Devin Travis last night went 1 for 4. Keuchel is set. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. It is in there for a strike, and we are underway. Blue Jays will get used to seeing that low strike. That's where Keuchel's going to be most of the night.
Yeah, get used to a lot of them. He'll change speeds with it, too.
Off the end of the bat. Look at those first 2 pitches, down and away to a right-handed hitter.
That's where he lives, right there. He can cut the ball in from down there, turn the ball over, use his change-up at times, move the fastball around. Again, we talked about it in the opening. He will not wow you. He will not light up the radar gun, but he certainly can pitch.
There's a breaking ball hooked off the roof of the Blue Jays dugout. He's the kind of guy that you go in the clubhouse and say, man, I'm going to get this guy. We're going to get this guy. Well, he shuts you out for 8 innings and you're over 4.
Yeah,
I'm going to get him.
Eventually, we're going to get him. You walk back to the dugout with another offer in your hand.
On the ground, Altuve to his left, spins and throws a low throw, dug out by Chris Carter. 1 down. Nice play by Altuve.
One thing you're going to have with Dallas Keuchel on the mound, you're going to have good inner defense because he throws a lot of ground ball outs. Nice play by Altuve with a great range. And a nice pick on the other end right there by Chris Carter to get the game's first out.
Chris Carter is making his 32nd start at first, and he did a good job of helping out Altuve. Josh Donaldson will step in with 1 out. Donaldson hitting .455 against lefty pitching so far this season. Give me your approach against Keuchel.
See, I think that would be my approach right there with Josh Donaldson. That you know he's going to be around the plate. You know he's going to throw a lot of strikes. So I'm going up there and I'm swinging. I'm not going to try and do something dramatic. I'm not going to think about home runs or extra base hits. I'm going to go up there, I'm going to be aggressive and try and hit the ball right back through the middle. He reminds me a little bit of Mark Burley in the fact that he doesn't throw hard. He makes quality pitches. He moves the ball around, and he's an excellent fielder.
Won a Gold Glove last year. First time an Astros pitcher has ever won a Gold Glove. Of course, Mark Burley's got 4 Gold Gloves to his credit. 0-2. He took a shot inside just like Mark Burley, but missed. Keuchel, he's won 6 straight games going back to last year. He's 4-0 this season with a .139 earned run average. And changeup, good spot, effective pitch, first strikeout.
You mentioned those last 6 starts from Dallas Keuchel, and he's been dominating. Look at this. These are the last 6 home starts for him, going back to last season. An ERA just over 1. The whip, he's not even allowing 1 base runner per inning. In the home runs allowed, 0. He's only given up 1 home run this whole season. And that's something to keep an eye on against the Blue Jays.
Jose Bautista hit a home run last night in the first inning. First of back-to-back home runs. The Blue Jays jumped out to a 2-0 lead. The only home run Keuchel has allowed this year was to Mike Trout. Another good changeup, boy. Great arm action on that changeup.
Comes out of the same slot as his fastball. You can't pay attention to that. Just look for the baseball. You can't really throw it by you.
Down and away at 91. This is his 4th career start against the Blue Jays for Keuchel. He's 2-0. Dallas Keuchel retires the side in order with a couple of strikeouts against Donaldson and Bautista. He's in good form early. For just over 4 runs a ball game, but they're leading the AL West by 4.5 games. Take a look at their lineup tonight. Jose Altuve against the Blue Jays the last 2 seasons is 11 for 32 with 5 extra base hits. A couple of hits in last night's game. And then down in the 5th spot in the order, Jason Castro, the catcher. He has put up good numbers against the Blue Jays. Started tonight, R.A. Dickey, 6 for 16 with an OPS of .850.
R.A. Dickey gets the ball for his 8th start of the season for the Blue Jays, looking to rebound from a rough outing versus the Boston Red Sox. 6 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs. Home runs were a problem again for him. He gave up 2 of them to the Red Sox, and they accounted for 5 of the 6 runs that he gave up to Boston. You know, another thing, Buck, that's a little alarming with R.A., he didn't strike out another batter. 3 out of his last 4 starts, he hasn't struck a batter out.
That's the one thing that really jumps off the sheet when you look at his stats. The lack of strikeouts. Travis near the bag at second, makes a nice throw right on the money to first. Altuve is retired. Defensively, on the infield, they're going to be on their toes. A lot of balls will be hit on the ground a lot if Dickey's on. In the outfield, it's Danny Valencia, Kevin Pillar, and Chris Colabello from left to right. Josh Donaldson's at third. Steve Tolleson makes his 2nd start at shortstop with the left-hander on the mound, Dallas Keuchel. Evan Travis and Edwin Encarnacion. Russell Martin is catching R.A. Dickey for the 4th time this season.
And you mentioned Danny Valencia. It's his 5th start in left field. 8 different players have had starts in left field for the Blue Jays this year. I asked John Gibbons why Valencia in left field. He said he's played third base, so he's familiar with that side of the diamond.
Being on that side of the diamond, the ball comes off the bat in the same angle, then give the same type of spin. So Valencia, you can see him looking into the dugout to get some assistance as far as his positioning. This is Luis Valbuena, who is batting 2nd tonight. Valbuena was in the 3rd spot in the order and gave the Astros a 1-run double in the 1st to make it a 2-1 game. As we mentioned, they don't hit much. They're last in the American League in average, and they're scoring just 4.3 runs per game. But their pitching has been such that it has allowed them to lead the AL West. They're 22-13.
Starters have been good. Their relievers have been very good. You know what they do? They hit a lot of home runs and they steal a lot of bases. They lead the American League in both of those categories, and that's enough for A.J. Hinch to score just enough runs to win.
This has popped over the Blue Jays dugout. A.J. Hinch turns 41 today. It's his birthday. He's the 2nd youngest manager in baseball. behind Kevin Cash, and this is his second opportunity to manage. He also managed the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's pretty pleased with the start, although he's not totally satisfied with the approach.
Too many strikeouts?
Too many strikeouts. He said, if I was playing on this team, it'd drive me nuts to have so many hollow outs, if you will. But he said it doesn't seem to bother these guys. They'll strike out 3 times and give you a great at bat and drive in a run in their 4th. 2-2 pitch. Cut on a miss. There's a strikeout. R.A. Dickey gets a strikeout in the 1st, something that's been missing from his plan of attack.
Looked like he took a little something off the knuckleball that time. It was just 71 miles an hour. Let's see. Oh, that's a changeup, ladies and gentlemen.
A straight changeup. How about that?
I knew he took something off of it because he had the great arm action and the ball didn't get there, but that was a change.
George Springer goes after the first pitch and grounds out to short. R.A. Dickey 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 1st. When we come back, Edwin Encarnacion will lead things off. He did this last night in his first at bat. His home run number 6 on the season, part of back-to-back homers in the 1st.
Emotional farewell. The final home game at Anfield for longtime Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard, one of the greatest players in BPL history. That goes tomorrow on Sportsnet, 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Buck?
Barry, it should be a very emotional start to that ball game. That soccer match, excuse me. He's a 17-year player there in Liverpool, and it's going to be interesting because many people believe he will eventually become the manager of that great club. Edwin Encarnacion, we mentioned his home run last night. He and Bautista went back-to-back. It was the first back-to-back homers for the Blue Jays since last September.
2 weeks into the month of May, and Edwin has already doubled his home run output. He's got 4 of them already in May. And that's a great sign.
Good start to the month for him, and hopefully that trend will continue. The Blue Jays are 6-7 in May after going 11-12 in April. So as a team, they've got to turn things around. Bouncing ball off the glove of the pitcher. Altuve from deep behind second throws Encarnacion out. Boy, Altuve never panicked. That ball was tipped by the pitcher. He was on the shortstop side of second, knew who he had running, and took his time.
Took a quick glance also. Edwin doesn't run that well. The ball is tipped just a little bit. You see him look very quickly to see where the runner was, and Edwin doesn't really run that well to get down that line, so he took his time and made a good play.
Keuchel gets an assist. Russell Martin, we mentioned he got the night off last night. That running fastball caught the inside corner. You see Russell Martin turn to the home plate umpire Brian O'Nora, says, is that the bottom of your strike zone? Doesn't go any lower than that, does it? Another bouncing ball off home plate. Martin hustling up the line. Altuve throws him out.
Well, with Dallas Keuchel, you are going to get a lot of ground ball outs because he's down at the lower parts of the strike zone with that cutter and that changeup. No fly balls. It's very tough for a batter to get the ball in the air. Again, he's only given up one home run. The fly ball percentage this season, just 17% of the balls are hit in the air against him. The Major League average, 30. And you can see the home runs. That's reflective of just the one home run he's given up this year.
Major League average is just about a home run per 9 innings, but Keuchel is very stingy in that regard. Danny Valencia, he is in there because he's put up big numbers against lefty pitching. 526 for the season. 10 for 19 for Valencia. He's also hit well against Keuchel. He's 3 for 6 with a homer. Lays off that breaking ball.
He's been wearing out lefties again this year. Career, I mean, he's made a career of hitting against left-handers. That breaking ball comes right into you, so you can commit a little bit sooner and then read it, as opposed to trying to deal with it from the right-hander.
Well, he sells that changeup very well. That arm comes through just as if it were a fastball.
And he's not afraid to double up on it. We saw him do that to Jose Bautista in the first inning. Threw him a couple of changeups in a row.
Pushed him back with that fastball inside. Keuchel was 26 and 29 in the minor leagues. He threw a total of 493 innings pitching in the minor leagues and finally made it to the big leagues. And boy, everything has come together with his last couple of seasons. And right there, he finds the strike zone bottom part of it. 3 strikeouts to Keuchel. He has retired 6 straight.
'24 for Country Day, presented by TD. The Blue Jays host the Mariners at 1:07 that afternoon, and for the first 20,000 fans, you'll receive a Blue Jays trucker hat. Special appearances by Jess Moskaluke, Chad Brownlee, and Gord Bamford. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. But even if you're not a country music fan, those hats are amazing.
You gotta have one of those hats for the summertime. That'd be good at the Cottage Bear for sure. Now there's a Blue Jays cowboy hat as well. Evan Gattis goes after the first pitch and singles it into left field. Gattis did not play in the game last night. He's now 3 for 4 against R.A. Dickey.
Been struggling just a little bit, and that's why he hasn't been in the lineup. But you got to put him in against R.A. Dickey with those kind of numbers. He's a muscle type of hitter. You can see right on top of the plate. He's looking to go deep, swing hard. That time he singles into left field to start the second.
Gaddis is a Texas native back here with the Astros in his home state. Jason Castro, he has given Dickey problems in his career. 6 for 16 against R.A. Dickey.
Did that ball hit the umpire? It looked like that ball was heading to the backstop as it hit the home plate umpire. Blue Jays catch a break. It's a knuckleball. Look at that. And bounces right to Russ Martin.
Yeah, Blue Jays got a break. Brian O'Neill took it right in the right arm and kept it right there at home plate. There's a good knuckler with late movement. Ball on a strike to the Astros catcher. Outside, Jason Castro comes from California. He played at Stanford University. He's 27 years old. He was a first-round pick, great catcher for that great baseball program at Stanford. He was drafted in 2008.
Well, he likes something against the Blue Jay pitchers. He loves facing them. He's hit 300 against them in his career. And there it is right there with 7 extra base hits and 10 RBIs.
Three and 1 count. To a fastball. Castro wasn't sure about it. He's having a discussion with O'Neill.
Remember that low pitch to Russell Martin? That's what he's reminding him about.
Of course, all the principals are standing right there at home plate. Russell Castro and Brian O'Neill, they're all in the discussion. Hey, that was a strike on me. It's a strike on you. There's a liner. Donaldson makes a nice catch. That positioning paid off perfectly as Castro made a bid for another hit.
Early in the at-bat, Josh Donaldson was a little bit closer to the line, and then as it got to 3-1 and then 3-2, he even played more of a pull, and it worked out perfectly. In the right spot right there to take that hot liner off the bat of Castro.
This is the left fielder tonight, Preston Tucker. He was the DH in last night's game. Tucker's getting his first look at R.A. Dickey, the knuckleballer. This is his rookie season. He was just called up.
He's got a nice swing. Pulled a couple of balls to right field last night and then came up with a huge double in that 8th inning against Aaron Luke, the lefty, right down the left field line.
He stayed on that pitch very well, and that was his first 3-hit game of his young career. Pair of doubles and a single, 3 for 4 on the night. Big numbers at Fresno. That's their AAA ball club. 10 home runs. He's hit 67 home runs in the last 3 seasons in the minors. He's got a little pop. I think we're going to be here in Fresno an awful lot in regards to this Houston Astros team with the promotions from some of their players. Talking about young players coming up from their AAA ball club. That ball is drilled down the right field line, and it's a fair ball up against the wall. Colabello plays it off the wall. He'll get it back to the cutoff man Travis, and Gaddis stops at third. Tucker with his 3rd double of the series.
They hit 5 of them in the game last night. The Houston Astros did. 5 doubles in the game, and this is their first one of this one. It looked like a changeup. It looks like R.A. Dickey's going to go to something a little bit different when it gets to 3-2. Changeup. Tucker stayed back on that one and hit it hard into the gap. Colabello did a good job as an outfielder. Field it, hit the cutoff man, get it in as quickly as possible.
This is Chris Carter, and Dickey jumps ahead with a strike. Second and third. Scoreless ball game. We're in the bottom of the second inning.
The advantage that pitchers could have pitching against the Houston Astros, because they strike out so much, even with runners at second and third, you can get out of this via the strikeout. It's a guy who strikes out a lot right here, Chris Carter.
There's a fly ball that's going to score a run. Pilar backing up. Gaddis is tagging at third. The throw will go to third, and the Astros will take a 1-0 lead. Sac fly for Chris Carter, his 13th RBI of the season, and Houston leads it 1-0.
Well, he was one pitch away from striking him out. Carter, he didn't move at all, did he? He kept that lower half very still so he could track that knuckleball. Look at it. He just uses his hands, and he's plenty strong enough to get the ball deep enough to score the run.
Well, that was a great swing. He hit it off the end of the bat. And like you said, he's such a big guy. He got it deep enough to center. This is Marwin Gonzalez. Takes a first pitch strike. Houston has a 1-0 lead, and they're going to have to try to shorten up Tucker at second. He's got an awfully big lead right now.
Yeah, R.A. Dickey made eye contact with Devin Travis to say, hey, let's get a little bit closer here, because he's got a huge lead.
That's foul outside of first.
You don't want that runner to stray too far off there and get a big lead with 2 outs. Obviously running on contact, but if you could shorten him up just a little bit, give your outfielders a chance to throw him out at the plate on a base hit.
Gonzalez is a switch hitter. He chooses to bat right-handed against Dickey. We've seen this a lot this year. There's a hard hit ball, base hit to left field. Danny Valencia comes up throwing. Here's the throw. It's on line, but late. Pretty good throw by Danny Valencia. Tucker slides in safely ahead of the throw, and it's 2-0 Houston.
They just could not knock that ball down. It was hit too sharply by Gonzalez into the outfield. And that's where you want to hold that runner a little bit closer to second base on plays like this. It's going to be bang, bang. But he got a couple of extra steps. Good turn at third base. And he slides around Russ Martin with the second run. First hit in his last 15 at-bats for Gonzalez.
Jake Marisnick was the leadoff man last night. He's the number 9 hitter tonight. Marisnick had a rough night. Struck out 4 times, 0 for 5 on the night. There's a ball off the glove of Donaldson. That's going to lead another run in. Marisnick hits one off Donaldson's glove. Collison swiped at it, trying to keep it on the infield. But it's a 3-run second inning for Houston.
Fundamentally, the Astros are doing everything right. Gonzalez got the base hit to left, and when the throw came through from the outfield, he got himself into scoring position. And then he's able to score on this. Donaldson tries to knock it down, and so does Collison, but no chance. Slows it down, gets it into the outfield. The third run will score. Infield, you're taught dive, do anything you can to keep that ball on the infield. But it's just out of the grasp of Josh Donaldson. Third run comes across.
Leadoff man Jose Altuve. He goes after the first pitch and rips it to left. Marisnick stops at second. 5 hits in the inning now for Houston. This is when it's really tough for a manager trying to figure out where to go now early in the ball game.
You gotta leave him out there. It's too early. You just don't want to blow out your bullpen. He's going to have to figure it out.
Dickey has pitched at least 6 innings in all but 1 game. That was on the 24th of April at Tampa Bay. He lasted just 4 2/3. It was the first time in 34 straight starts that he hadn't gone 5 innings. So this is an exceptional start for Dickey. This is popped up. This should end the inning. Devin Travis out on the outfield grass is there, makes the catch. But Houston scores 4 runs against R.A. Dickey.
Canada will be making its way across the country. 2015 stops include Abbotsford, BC, Okotoks, Alberta, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Victoria, BC, and Toronto, Ontario. Go to BlueJays.com/Baseball Academy for more information. The Toronto Blue Jays are proud supporters of amateur baseball across Canada. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. Houston has taken a 3-0 lead. He scored 3 runs on 5 hits in the second. Chris Colabello is 5 for 8 against lefty pitching. Takes the first pitch down and away. Colabello with 2 more hits last night, 2 for 4. He had a double. Out over the plate, and he doesn't miss it. A leadoff single for Colabello. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He's got an update for us. Playing some defense behind Kyle Loesch, who's allowed just 1 hit over 6 innings, as the Brewers have a 6-0 lead over the Mets, and the Mets have been terrific at home this year. Mets are 20-15 on the season.
Great pitching. They are getting great pitching, and there's more coming up through their system.
Noah Syndergaard made his first big league start this week. Of course, Matt Harvey is back and throwing like he did before he had the Tommy John surgery.
And the ageless wonder.
How about Bartolo Colon?
Bartolo Colon. Wow.
Every pitcher in the big league should be forced to study Bartolo Colon. He throws fastball after fastball after fastball.
Strike after strike.
Kevin Pillar takes it inside. It's 2 balls and a strike. Blue Jays really worked hard during batting practice. Just about every one of the right-handed hitters never tried to pull the ball. They all tried to stay away, and most of the guys hit the ball from the pitcher's mound to the right field foul line.
Well, that's where Keuchel's going to try and get you out. He's going to keep that ball down and away from you. He's going to change speeds. He'll show you the ball inside. He doesn't throw it, in my mind, hard enough to throw it by you. But if you think middle of the field, that's where he's going to try and get you out. down and away. So stay on that ball. A lot like Chris Colabella's at bat. That ball was out over the plate. He did not try and pull the ball. He stayed right with it. Got himself another RBI, a base hit. Excuse me, another hit.
Pilar will take ball 4. So the first 2 reach here in the 3rd. A leadoff single, now a walk.
How about that? That's something rare from Dallas Keuchel. He doesn't walk too many batters.
Keuchel now working to the number 9 hitter. Keuchel for the season, that's his 16th walk. We mentioned coming into this game, the league has hit 163 against Keuchel. That's the lowest opponent's batting average in the majors. Tolleson, the number 9 hitter, not showing bunt. Hacks at the first pitch. Tolleson getting the start at shortstop tonight, his 2nd start of the season. This year he's at 375 against lefty pitching. Ryan Goins hit the ball hard. Not much to show for it. Just cued off the end of the bat. This is going to work like a sacrifice bunt. Tolleson moves the runners up. Colabello at 3rd, Pilar at 2nd.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Well, the Blue Jays need to come through with at least 1 run here. Great opportunity to get right back in the ball game. Houston has a 3-0 lead. Devin Travis hits it off the end of the bat and fouls it off the catcher.
You know what? They might have the right guy right here. Travis has done a great job early in the season hitting the ball up the middle or the other way. And I think that feeds right into the type of pitcher Dallas Keuchel is. 17 hits to right field this year. That's the 5th most in the American League.
And an opposite field double last night drove in a run. Taking a shot at that right field foul line.
You know, for such a young hitter in terms of experience at the major league level, I think he's an experienced type of hitter. His approach at the plate is like a guy who's been in the league for a few years. Short swing, doesn't really overcommit, doesn't strike out a lot, puts the ball in play a lot.
That's a breaking ball down and in. He hooks it foul. I spoke to Russell Martin about Devin Travis in regards to his tags at second. He's really been good taking those throws from Martin and putting down that quick tag. And Russell characterized Devin Martin as pro. He said he's a young guy, but everything he does is like a pro. He gets himself ready like a pro. He takes batting practice like a real pro. Everything he does on the field would make you think he's played 5-6 years in the big leagues. This is popped up, not that deep. Springer's got a strong arm. Tagging at third is Colabello, and he's going to hold. He wouldn't hit that deep, and Louis Rivera made the right call. Where you are in your lineup, you got to be 100% sure you can score. You don't want to run into an out and leave Josh Donaldson standing on deck.
Yeah, especially with a couple of guys in scoring position, and you're already down by 3 runs. You're not running into an out right there. So Devin Travis cannot get that runner in from third base in less than 2 outs, and now it's going to take a 2-out hit.
Well, they got the right guy at the plate. We mentioned Donaldson has worn out lefty pitching, a .455 average coming in. He's 9 for 25 with runners in scoring position.
And you know what? He is right on top of the plate. It looks like he has moved a little closer to the plate, anticipating that ball away from him. Those hands now are hanging over the middle of that inside corner.
And Keuchel busting inside. That's okay. You can stay right there. It's only 88 miles an hour. Donaldson can handle that inside pitch with his hands, but what he's doing right now is looking for a pitch out of the plate.
He's looking for something out over the plate that he can hit through the middle.
This is a little shift of gears right here. He stepped out to rethink his approach. That's where Josh is hot. That diagonal up and away, down and in. He's still looking away.
Yeah, don't change. I think Houston has picked up on the fact that he's gotten on the plate just a little bit more, and they've busted him in a couple of times. Now, as a hitter, the wrong thing you do is you start changing now. You start thinking, hey, they're throwing me in. I'm going to start opening up a little bit here. That's when they start throwing the ball on the outside corner.
Well, that's the catcher's responsibility. Jason Castro. He's got to make note the fact that Donaldson has moved up on the plate. And then as a catcher, you can point to your eyes and say, look at his feet. See where he is. He's closer now. So he might have to shift gears a little bit and pop him inside. 3-1. Chop toward third. Valbuena dropped the ball. He had more time than he thought. Donaldson had a tough time getting out of the batter's box. Colabello scores. Josh will pick up an RBI. Valbuena barehanded, and I think he had a little more time than he thought.
Yeah, Josh Donaldson got turned around in that batter's box and had a tough time getting out. It looked like an off-speed pitch that he got on top of it. You can see he had some trouble getting out of the batter's box. Valbuena's got to come up and field that ball with his glove. He's playing back with 2 strikes, so he's got a long way to go. He's got plenty of time, really, but tries to barehand it, drops it. Blue Jays will certainly take that. Anytime that ball is rolling, you've got to use your glove.
It'll be an infield hit for Donaldson. He'll pick up the RBI. That's his 25th. The Blue Jays are on the board. Now they've got a big bat at the plate with runners at the corners. Bautista takes one outside. When you're playing up against a guy as hot as Dallas Keuchel, you've got to take advantage of every opportunity they give you. They're not going to come that often.
Yeah, you get a single and a walk to start the inning. You got to get more than just one. That play by the third baseman. Blue Jays might have gotten 0 if he comes up with that play. Now they got a chance to have a bigger inning.
Bautista, you'll notice how close he is to the plate. He's inched up closer to the plate as well. Blue Jays have gotten a steady diet of pitches away. Good eye. Still working him away. Even though they're on top of the plate, pitchers are reluctant to come inside to Bautista because he is lightning quick.
Yeah, they see that they've taken that outside pitch away from him, and look, he keeps missing.
Brian Odor just made sure everybody understands it's a 3-1 count, not 2-2 as the scoreboard had. That's a perfect pitch. Now it's a full count. Donaldson, the runner at first, will be off on the pitch. Pilar's at third. Ball 4. Bautista walks. That'll load the bases. Boy, another example of the Blue Jays needing to take advantage of this inning. Colabello started with a base hit. Pilar walked. Tollefson had a swinging bunt that moved the base runners. Gravis flied out to right, and Donaldson had an infield squib hit that was an RBI hit. Bases loaded now for Encarnacion. Edwin is the owner of 6 grand slams. 7 would be sweet right now.
You give up 3, you come back with a huge inning. That could really generate some momentum in that Blue Jay dugout.
Keuchel has only given up 9 runs all season. Off the end of the bat. Shortstop Gonzalez goes to second. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays get on the board. They leave the bases loaded, but they score one. Donaldson, an RBI base hit. It's 3-1 Houston.
Jose Reyes took full batting practice with the team for the first time today. He hit left-handed. He even hit one ball out of the park. He told me no problems at all with the ribs. He's going to hit batting practice for the next couple of days and then possibly go on a rehab assignment as early as next week. The bad news, however, guys, is regarding Michael Saunders. Alex Anthopoulos told us today that he's still another 4 to 6 weeks away from returning. He's going to go see Dr. James Andrews for a second opinion on that knee just to make sure that it is healing the way they hope it will. Buck?
That is tough news for Michael Saunders, and of course it's been a disappointing start to his Blue Jay career. He injured that knee in spring training, had to undergo surgery, and probably came back a little bit too early, but he was anxious to come back and make a contribution. But the news is much better regarding Jose Reyes.
Anytime you hear that name, Dr. Andrews, that's never good. But Alex Anthopoulos was talking before the game, and he was just saying, we want a second opinion. We've already know what's going on in there. He's already had the operation. We just want the doctor to give us a second opinion and tell us if we're doing the right thing, if we're on the right track with him. 4 to 6 weeks from the disabled list, since he was put on the disabled list, it's just a routine checkup with Dr. Andrews.
Yeah, I just hope there isn't anything going on any further than what you expected. But when you have surgery, you know, that's what they always say. Well, it's minor surgery. It's only minor if it's on somebody else.
Yeah, there's no such thing as minor surgery.
No, especially when you're trying to play a major sport. You come out, and Michael wanted to contribute, and he tried to come back as quickly as possible. But now, in retrospect, it probably would have been better off had he waited another 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, he just didn't look right, did he, when he came back? He was limping a little bit. He just couldn't push off that leg. It had no power because of that back leg was bothering him.
This is hit a mile to deep center field. Pilar back at the wall. It's a home run. George Springer, it's his 6th home run of the season, and he gave that one a ride.
Probably the farthest part of this ballpark for a right-handed hitter. It's going opposite. Just a shade to right field from that center field area. That is a long, long way for a man to hit the ball. Kevin Pillar did everything he could. It's a high knuckleball, and if it doesn't knuckle, straightens out, that ball can go a long way. Pillar tried to climb the wall to rob him. Well, that is a long way, Buck.
It sure is, and Springer, a very promising youngster, hitting under 200, but that's his 6th home run. This is Evan Gattis, who singled and scored in the 2nd. Springer just off the disabled list. He was on the 7-day concussion disabled list. This is popped over the Astros dugout out of play.
That's what they do. isn't it? Hit home runs and steal bases.
Springer had missed 6 games while on that 7-day disabled list. And Geddes strikes out. Home runs and strikeouts, that's their MO.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Houston gets their run back as the Blue Jays scored a run in the top of the 3rd. Houston answers with that solo home run off the bat of George Springer. This is the catcher, Jason Castro. Right at the top of the zone. Nicky didn't get the call. It's a ball on the strike. This is popped up. Donaldson, the only defender on the third base side of second, gets over and makes the catch. 2 down.
You know, R.A. Dickey, one of the things we mentioned it at the top of the show about the reduction in his strikeouts. Well, it's been a theme for him. And that great year in 2012, he averaged 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to 7.2. This year, down to 4. And I don't know if the knuckleball is not as hard as it was a few years ago, if that is by design, that he doesn't want to have as many strikeouts because it takes so many pitches to get through innings, but it has been noted by people around baseball that the strikeouts are down.
He led the National League in strikeouts in 2012 when he won the Cy Young. And he's been concerned about the strikeouts. He's told his catcher Josh Tolley he's a little surprised he hasn't had more consistent strikeout numbers. Right to the second baseman, Devin Travis, from the edge of the grass. R.A. Dickey gives up a leadoff home run here in the 3rd. George Springer, a young right fielder, goes deep to right. His 6th home run. It's 4-1 Houston.
Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
Welcome back to Houston, Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros, who are now in the American League. Of course, they started out playing here in Colt 45 Stadium, an outdoor ballpark. They moved to the Astrodome and became the Houston Astros, and then they built this beautiful ballpark and started play here in 2000. Dallas Keuchel. He got out of a jam, allowed just one run in the third, and Blue Jays might have let him off the hook. Russell Martin leads things off. Well, that's not a good sign.
No.
Martin took an awkward swing and went to a knee, and he is regrouping a bit, and this is not good.
Could throw your back out.
You can see he's feeling something on his right side, or one of those oblique things. Watch his reaction after he swings at this. He goes down to a knee and grabbed his right side.
And then tries to stretch it out. A change up and felt it right there. Dallas Keuchel might go right back to the same pitch.
Well, obviously the concern anytime you see a hitter react as Martin did, you think oblique. We saw that with Reyes in Baltimore when he initially felt that cracked rib. Martin strikes out. That's 4 strikeouts for Keuchel.
He went right back to that changeup once again. Throw off the timing of the batter. Picks up his first strikeout since the second inning. One more time, it just doesn't get there for Russell.
Hopefully he's okay, and that one reaction was just a one-off pain he felt. This is Danny Valencia. He was caught looking at strike 3 to end the second. Well, we talked about good pitchers, and we'll categorize Keuchel as a good pitcher. Might give you one opportunity in the course of a game, and if you don't take care of him then, you might not get another chance.
Well, they get on a roll and start firing strike after strike. They feel like they might have gotten a second life after you let them off a hook. So we will see. Blue Jays have had a lot of success this year against left-handed pitching.
There's a little looper that's behind second. That's going to drop for Valencia. He broke his bat, but it's a one-out single for the Blue Jays left fielder. When you talk about Dallas Keuchel, he's among the leaders in many of the pitching categories. He's first in ERA in the major leagues. He's first in opponent's batting average. Whip 0.85, that's second. Ground ball percentage 63% ground balls. That's remarkable. And then the opponent's OPS, which is the combination of slugging and on base percentage, under 5. That's impressive. Once again, first in that category.
Amazing. ERA 139 in the American League with a designated hitter. Pretty impressive.
Says Chris Colabello. He singled and scored. Russell Martin appears to be stretching out his back on the Blue Jays bench. Hopefully he's okay. Colabello pulls it to third. Valbuena goes to second for one. Altuve turns it quickly. Double play. Well, that's what you get with Dallas Keuchel. We told you 63% of the balls on the ground. Altuve made a terrific turn at second. John Gibbons has popped out of the dugout for the Blue Jays. Here's Valbuena.
They're thinking that the neighborhood play at second base with Altuve at second base, and John Gibbons wants a little explanation there. Was he close enough?
Yeah, he is out there to talk to the umpire. That's Jeff Kellogg. He's the crew chief, and I don't know that Gibbons has asked for it. Now they've waved it off. Gibbons was back, and you look, he did. He touched that base with his right foot, drug the toe over the top of the base to complete the double play.
experts say take you beyond the game at Sportsnet. Follow along on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram using the hashtag Blue Jays. And amongst those tweets tonight, guys, was news that Yonder Navarro still no closer to starting a rehab assignment, still suffering from that hamstring injury.
Well, that's unfortunate. He's a guy kind of overlooked, but the loss of Deanna in that spot was interesting. But right now, the way things stack up, his presence wouldn't make a difference at all because there's no place for him to DH. Jose Bautista continues to serve as the DH.
You know, another name that they talked about in that scrum today, Meiser Astros. He's going to go out on rehab on Monday. With, I think he'll be ready in a week. With Devin Travis doing so well, his name has kind of been lost.
Yeah, it sure has. Nobody has really talked much or thought much about Astros because Travis has played so well. This is Chris Carter. He shoots one in the alley in right center. It's going to split the outfielders and go to the wall. Kevin Pillar plays it off the wall back in, but it's a leadoff double for Chris Carter. That goes with the sacrifice fly he had in the second.
5 doubles in last night's game, 4 more than they had over their previous 6 combined, and this is their second double tonight. He just reaches out and with that strength pokes it into the gap for extra bases.
So Carter's at second to start the inning. That'll bring Marwin Gonzalez to the plate. He had an RBI single in the second. The Astros scored 3 runs on 5 hits in the second. He goes after the first pitch. It's a fly ball to center. Pilar is there. So the number 9 hitter, Jake Marisnick. He had an RBI single to left. His first time up.
And 3 straight 2-out hits against R.A. Dickey in that second inning. Kept that inning going where they scored those 3 runs. Limit the damage. That's what you want to do. That's the biggest thing that young pitchers have to learn to do. Instead of giving up 5, if you can give up 1 or 2 where you can limit that damage.
Just stop the bleeding. And that's exactly what Dallas Keuchel did to the Blue Jays in the third. He gave him 1, but that's all. R.A. Dickey has allowed 4 runs on 7 hits, and the home run has popped up again. George Springer hit a home run to deep center field. Check swing that goes past Dickey. Tollison bare hands, not in time. Marisnick can run. He was a wide receiver in high school and had some thoughts about playing college football, but signed with the Blue Jays. And he is a terrific athlete.
Yeah, for a big guy, he can run. It's a check swing, and he's running from the right-hander batter's box, so you think you have a shot. Tolly does everything he can. Steve Tollison comes up, bare hands it. Watch this, check swing, and now he's got to go from a dead stop from the right-handed batter's box, and with those long strides, beats it out for a hit.
And you see how he ran through the base. He didn't jump for the base, and that helped him beat out that infield hit. This is Altuve, 1 for 2. Pulls this one to the left field line. This ball is foul. Altuve hooked it down into that corner, and it was foul just by a matter of inches.
He is quick with that bat. That bat comes through that strike zone very quickly. There's not a lot of room down that left field line. You can see just a couple of feet foul.
Altuve ended this game batting .332. He was tied with Eric Hosmer for 6th in the American League. Fly ball, deep center field. Pilar is back at the wall. This ball is gone. A 3-run home run for Jose Altuve. His 5th.
He is a good player. Jose Altuve. Already 2 All-Star games before he's 25 years old. Just the 3rd player in Astro history to do that. Cesar Cedeno and Rusty Staub. Well, you can put him in that category. That is a long way over the 404 sign in center field for 3 runs.
Brian O'Nora, the home plate umpire, needs some baseballs there as the Astros have hit 2 home runs tonight. Altuve's, as we mentioned, his 5th home run. He now has 24 RBIs. Valbuena takes strike 1. Home run has been a problem for R.A. Dickey. 94 home runs allowed over the last 4 years. Dickey will make the play on this comeback. Valbuena's retired. Here you see the home runs. He has 3 ahead of Dan Herron. But the home run, that knuckleball, when it floats up there, it takes a spin off. But when hitters connect, it goes a long way.
It goes a long way. And since he's joined the Blue Jays now in 3 seasons, he's given up 70, which is the most in the major leagues.
This is George Springer. He homered to start the 3rd inning. Oh, and 2. Hear that slow knuckleball and bounced it in the dirt. Ground ball, weakly hit. Travis throws to first. The inning is over, but Houston adds 3 more runs here in the 4th. A 3-run home run by the second baseman, Jose Altuve. We'll go to the 5th. Houston with a 7-1 lead. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
The Angels. It's Victoria Day, and it's the first of 2 afternoon weekday games this month. On Wednesday, May 27th, the White Sox pay a visit at 12:37. Please note that game was originally scheduled for 7 o'clock, but has been moved. A couple of great opportunities this month to enjoy matinee baseball at Rogers Center. Get your tickets now at BlueJays.com. Buck?
Barry, thank you very much. That Monday afternoon game will feature C.J. Wilson for the Angels against Aaron Sanchez. That's the first game of a long homestand. Kevin Pillar hits it hard, but foul down in the seats on the left field foul line.
He likes this ballpark too, doesn't he?
Hits well here. He hit his first big league home run in this ballpark. Stayed back on that one. You'll remember his home run. He had to stand at second base because it was ruled a ground rule double. And you know, typically you think, oh man, I hit my first big league home run. I'm running around bases, thinking about all the great times I had before I get my first big league home run. He had to stand and wait for the review.
Yeah, he had a half a home run trot.
Here he couldn't check his swing in time, and he strikes out. Keuchel with a strikeout to start the fifth.
His pitches look so tantalizing, and they're so slow, and they're spinning up there. And as a hitter, you just have to be very patient and make him come into your spot. I think if you start getting over anxious, he's going to use that against you.
Right back up the middle, but there's Altuve positioned perfectly. 2 quick outs here in the fifth. Well, we used to talk about pitchers like Keuchel. We'd call them comfortable. He's a comfortable offer. You go up there, every time you step in the box, you say, okay, I got this now. You feel like you're going to get a hit. Never feel overmatched, never feel intimidated. All he does is get you out. We mentioned his opponent's batting average, 163. Francisco Liriano of the Pirates is second with 168. I mean, that's dealing. In this day and age of so much offense.
In the American League with the DH, 7th round draft pick in 2009 out of the University of Arkansas. He was a teammate of Drew Smiley at Arkansas. Led him to the College World Series in 2009. And I did some research on him and looked at him where he was rated in their farm system. He was rated 24th, then the next year 23rd, and then 21st. Never higher than 21st in their farm system, rated as a player. Comes to the big leagues, and he just blossoms.
I hope they don't bring those other 20 guys up. They got a good farm system, and they have hit on their #1 picks the last several years. And when you finish at the bottom of the league, you're going to get some high picks, and Astros have made the most of those high picks. Travis bounces the ball 2 hops to the second baseman. Dallas Keuchel's in a groove, 9 pitches, and he is finished in the fifth. We'll go to the bottom of the fifth, 7-1 Houston.
For your chance to win a Samsung Galaxy S6 and a $200 gift card to the shopping channel. Just log in and watch to be automatically entered. Buck?
Should be a great time with the semifinals coming up in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I know that a lot of Blue Jays that'll have interest in watching that from time to time. This is Evan Gattis. He has singled and struck out. He went around. Gaddis, 28 years old. He was completely out of baseball. Came back with the Braves and kind of a storybook road to the big leagues with Atlanta in 2013. He had 21 home runs. And then they felt like he was probably better served to be an American League player. He was basically a catcher. He's played some outfield, but with Atlanta, he had 22 in 13, 22 in 14, 21 in 13.
Big burly guy, all or nothing. He's got 4 home runs this month, but he's hitting under 200.
Yeah. And that's the way these Astros are put together. And A.J. Hinch talked to me about that before the game. He said, I'd like to see the hitters cut down on some of the strikeouts. We mentioned this is A.J. Hinch's 41st birthday. It's also the 62nd birthday of George Brett, the Hall of Famer, my roommate. We celebrated his birthday a couple times over the years.
During the season?
Oh, yeah, during the season. You know. We played some day games from time to time.
Okay. Had a few sodas after the game.
Always had a birthday cake. Bouncing ball. Tough hop for Donaldson. Handles it easily. Gaddis is retired. One down in the bottom of the 5th.
Swing for the fences and save during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
We are in Houston, Texas, as the Blue Jays and the Astros are in the midst of a 4-game series. This is game 2. First pitch fastball. Just foul, bounced on the line and hooked outside the bag. He's hit well against him throughout his career. And he's lined out and popped out tonight.
Change up with that knuckleball a little bit right here.
A little bit harder. That may have been a fastball away, and he was able to strike him out. 2 down here in the 5th.
Got to try anything. And giving up some runs tonight, so you got to change things up just a little bit. Yeah, that's a 4-seamer right there, and it takes Jason Castro by surprise.
Preston Tucker has a double tonight. He's had 3 doubles in the series, 4 hits overall.
He looks like a hitter, doesn't he?
Sure does. And as we mentioned, he's just been called up. When the Blue Jays got to town, he was just 1 for 10.
Little old school, no batting gloves. Looks like the hitters from the olden days. Does a good job. He loads up nicely. Keeps that weight on that back foot. Keeps those hands back.
Yeah, he has separation. His hands go back, his foot goes forward, and they are on the ground and over his shoulder at the same time.
But the weight stays back on that back leg, so when he recognizes a strike, he can swing.
This one's down the left field line. That's another fair ball. Another double for Tucker as he cuts one just inside the foul line down the left field line. His second double of the night, fourth double of the series.
Looked a lot like his double in last night's game against Aaron Luke. Second one tonight. When you stay back and you get the hands back, but the weight stays back, you can do that. You can be fooled by a pitch like he was. He kept the hands back and he's able to shoot that ball to left field for extra bases. That's a sign of a good hitter.
Tucker's in his fourth professional season. He went to Plant High School in Tampa and was a 7th-round draft pick. Martin with a quick throw to second as that ball was scooped in the dirt. Tucker had taken an extra step toward third once that ball bounced. Chris Carter, who's had a good start to his night, had a sacrifice fly and a driven a run in and scored a run. Dickey used another fastball.
Again, you got to change something up. If you've given up 7 runs and 10 hits and we're only in the 5th inning, you got to try something different. So use your fastball at times. Maybe change speeds on the knuckleball.
10 hits allowed, a season high for Dickey. There's another fastball. He allowed 9 hits in back-to-back starts. April 24th at Tampa and April 29th at Boston. This high fly ball to right. Long run for Colabello. He's not going to get there. It's a foul ball. It was up there a long time. Colabello was shaded in right center. And he couldn't get to it.
Long, long way for Colabello to go. He was, like you said, in right center field. A lot of grass to cover. He's normally a corner infielder. Not having to cover that much ground when you're playing on the infield, just cannot run that one down.
Well, this has been a problem, and we talked about Michael Saunders earlier. He was penciled in to be the everyday left fielder, and he hurt his knee in spring and hasn't been able to play every day, and now is going to be out another 4 to 6 weeks. But the Blue Jays don't have any depth in the outfield.
You're right. They're basically playing 2 infielders in the outfield tonight.
Danny Valencia is a third baseman. He's playing left and has, but John Gibbons' hands are tied. This is the makeup of his team, and the extra outfielder is Carrera. He is a legitimate outfielder, but with the lefty on the mound tonight, he felt like he better get a couple right-handed bats in there. Full count, 2 outs. Chris Carter at the plate. This is popped back over the screen out of play. Houston scored first. They scored 3 runs in the second. Bottom of the order did the damage. Carter had a sac fly. Gonzalez had an RBI single and Marisnick an RBI single. It's a soft knuckleball lifted to third base. Donaldson in fair territory makes the catch. Dickey strands a base runner. We'll head to the 6th. Blue Jays are down by 6. Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion against Keuchel when we come back. Blue Jays baseball partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. We move to the 6th inning here in Houston. The Astros have a 7-1 lead. Blue Jays have just 3 hits against Dallas Keuchel. They had him on the ropes in the 3rd. All they could manage was a single run. They had a couple hits. They left the bases loaded.
2 hits and 2 walks and a chance to that one hit, just one at bat where you can clear the bases with a double, something like that, and you've got him on the ropes. But now, since that 2nd inning, he has put it in cruise control.
Bouncing ball. Keuchel tipped it to Gonzalez at short. Donaldson is out. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Jose Bautista has struck out and walked. Popped out of play. Well, this is the scouting report we got on Keuchel. He's going to keep the ball down. He's not going to give up any hits. You know, he's been in best in baseball with opponent's batting average.
He keeps you off balance. That's the thing that I've noticed about him today. All the batters for the Blue Jays, they've been off balance. He'll throw a changeup down and away. He'll turn his fastball over like that right there. He'll buzz one up and in. He's looking to become the first Astros starter to start 5-0 since Roger Clemens. And he's on his way. He keeps pitching like this.
Well, the one thing he has done consistently is he's pitched deep into ball games. Last time out, he went 6 2/3. That's chopped toward third. Balbuena, another barehanded attempt. Not in time. He throws it away. Bautista aboard with an infield single. 2 of the 4 hits the Blue Jays have been infield hits.
He doesn't have to play that deep. Blue Jays just cannot square it up. They've been topping a lot of those pitches. 2 strikes with a big right-handed pull hitter. Balbuena's going to play deep, but again, he can't get anything on that. Jose is going to beat that out even if it was a good throw. You know, the best thing about Dallas Keuchel is he doesn't light up the radar gun. You know, he pitches.
Yeah, he wouldn't scout well, that's for sure. You look at him, well, you know, he doesn't really do much. You have to see him in the context of a game, facing big league hitters like Encarnacion, keeping them off balance, never panicking, never trying to overthrow. You're right, he's a lot like Mark Burley.
Mark Burley 10 years ago. Smart, can move the ball around, he's got a little bit more of a fastball. Mark did too 10 years ago.
Well, Burley will tell you the one thing he never tries to do is throw harder than he's capable of. And that's one thing he has tried to impress upon the young pitchers on this Blue Jays staff. Hey, if you throw 97 naturally, well, then throw 97. But if you throw 91, don't try to throw 97 just because you're in the big leagues.
It's better to command and control and keep that batter off balance. I talk to pitchers all the time, and they talk about trying to get the ball off the barrel of the bat, try to make the batter feel uncomfortable, and trying to keep him off balance. And this guy does it as good as anybody that we have seen this year.
Encarnacion will walk. That's the 3rd walk that Keuchel has issued. It's 1st and 2nd with 1 out.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale, only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Russell Martin will step in with 2 aboard. Blue Jays need to string some hits together. The Blue Jays are 8-12 on the road. They have lost 3 of the first 4 on this road trip. They lost 2 of 3 to the Orioles in Baltimore. They lost the opener here last night, 6-4 to Houston. And they had the lead. Went into the bottom of the 7th with a 4-2 lead, and the Astros scored 4. How much do you think the good start has given the Astros confidence?
For a young team, I think it's paramount for them. They had a 10-game winning streak earlier this year, and you could just see that the switch was flipped on. That, hey, we can win these games. You know what else they have going for them is they've got a very good bullpen, a deep bullpen. So the games they're supposed to win, they're going to win them. There is nothing like a young team taking a lead deep into a ball game and then coughing it up. That can have the reverse effect of winning games early.
Well, you look at their record from a year ago, and it's almost the mirror opposite of what they've done this year. The ERA is better by a run and a half, and the average, not much difference, but it once again shows you the value of pitching. They're not scoring many more runs than they did last year. They're just preventing more. Little chopper. Keuchel is a Gold Glove fielder. It makes a good play. Keuchel won the Gold Glove last season. He's a terrific fielder. Got off the mound in good shape, and he was the leading pitcher for assists. He had 47 assists last year because he gets off the mound and fields his position very well.
Best fielder in the American League. Watch how he just takes his time and creates that lane for him to throw. Chris Carter stays on the inside, takes his time. He planted that back foot, didn't rush it, took his time and made a good throw and got the out.
Danny Valencia, the left fielder, is 1 for 2. Base hit will score 2 in this situation for Valencia, and that's what the Blue Jays have to think about. Chip away.
Chip away. You can't get it all with just one swing right now. They're too far behind, and he's too good.
Two and 0. Keuchel is never going to give in to you. R.A. Dickey has given up a season-high 10 hits tonight. 3-0. Chris Colabello is on deck. Ryan Tepera appears to be ready down in the Blue Jays bullpen. There's a strike now, 3-1. He just doesn't give in to you. Nope. Constantly changing speeds. And he'll be the epitome of what they call pitching backwards. You expect the fastball, he'll throw you a changeup. You look for a changeup, he'll throw you a breaking ball. Unpredictable.
I wouldn't expect a fastball from him if I'm hitting. I'm thinking something off speed. You got to make that adjustment against him.
Valencia drives it over the head of the left fielder. 2 runs are going to come in to score. Danny Valencia delivers on the 3-2 pitch, and the Blue Jays have cut into that 6-run deficit.
Well, he made the adjustment. That was a 3-2 changeup about letter high. And Valencia, who has made a name of brilliant lefties. Gets one to his liking and hammers it over the left fielder's head. Change up is almost like he was waiting for it, and that's what you have to do as a hitter. Don't be thinking fastball. Look for that off-speed pitch. He got it. Cashes 2 runners.
For Valencia, 2 hits tonight against Keuchel as Bautista and Encarnacion score. Danny Valencia is now 12 for 22 against lefties. Chris Colabello singled his first time up. It's a 7-3 Houston lead. Colabello with a base hit to right field. Valencia's around. He's going to score. Chris Colabello with a 2-hit night, and all of a sudden, the Blue Jays are right back in the ball game.
They have been waiting for those 2-out hits for a while. They didn't get one when they had them on the ropes in the 3rd inning. Now in the 6th inning, they come up with the 2-out hits. First Valencia on a change up to left field, and then the very hot Chris Colabello, his 2nd hit, shoots this ball the other way. Springer does a good job of cutting that ball off and holding him to a single. You can see that inside-out swing. He will cash that runner, and just like that, it's 7-4.
Well, we mentioned Blue Jays have hit well against lefty pitching this season. Donaldson, Martin, Danny Valencia, Chris Colabello, a late addition, is now 7 for 11 against lefty pitching. Brett Strom, the pitching coach, out to talk to Keuchel, but it's more a trip to give the bullpen a little time. Will Harris starting to loosen up for the Astros, and we mentioned this is a good bullpen. 6th inning, 3 runs in. Kevin Pillar bounces it to short. Gonzalez shovels. That ends the inning, but the Blue Jays cut into that Astros lead. They score 3 runs on 3 hits and leave a base runner. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. It's 7-4 Houston.
Tickets. Save money, create lasting memories with your coworkers, teammates, family, and friends. Book your group today. BlueJays.com/groups. But we get lots of big groups down at Rogers Center for Blue Jay games.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to invite your family and friends to come down, and you can make a big day out of it. Make sure you check out the schedule and make your plans. This is the Texas native, Ryan Tepera. He is from Lake Jackson, Texas, which is about 45 minutes south of Houston. So he's in the ball game in front of a lot of family and friends.
And this will be his 3rd major league action since being recalled by the Blue Jays about a week ago. Fastball splitter. He's added a cutter to his repertoire this year to help him get in on the left-handed batters. throwing a lot harder now since they have transitioned him into the bullpen. And the thing about that is he can go multiple innings.
He's on in relief of R.A. Dickey, who's out after 5 innings. Tepera was a starter up until last season in Buffalo. They made the transition, put him in the bullpen, and he responded very well. This is Marwin Gonzalez, a switch hitter, batting left-handed for the first time. He hit right-handed against Dickey. Gonzalez is making his 13th start at shortstop. Foul ball. Everybody in Houston, everybody in the organization, everybody in the city, everybody in the state of Texas is anxious for the appearance of Carlos Correa. He's the #1 pick a couple of years ago, and he is in AAA now, just promoted from AA. He's in Fresno in the Pacific Coast League. He's an impact offensive shortstop along the lines of Alex Rodriguez when Alex was a kid. And they plan on seeing him at some point this summer. So the shortstops are even asking, hey, how's Correa doing? Not so much concerned about their own job security as they are about the impact he'll have on the team.
And if they are in a pennant race late in the season, they're still going to bring him up. High hopes with that kid.
Upstairs, it's 2-2.
That's where you got to cash in. When you have the worst record in baseball and you have next year's #1 pick overall, you got to cash in. You've got to be able to pick a guy who's going to be an impact type of player.
This is a pop fly down the left field line. Donaldson down there makes a play, and he makes it easily in fair territory. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you very much, and we will see Jared Weaver at Rogers Center on the upcoming homestand. He will pitch Wednesday against R.A. Dickey. The Angels will be at Rogers Center for a 4-game series starting Monday afternoon. Jake Marisnick had a terrible night last night, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. They dropped him into the 9th spot again, and he's 2 for 2. Just a matter of time. Tepera is the kind of guy that throws a lot of strikes. He has enough movement on his fastball and enough depth in his breaking ball to give you a couple innings in relief.
And he throws strikes.
You know what he's got in there? I just noticed it. It reminded me of one of the best pitchers the Blue Jays ever had pitching out of their bullpen, Paul Quantrill. He's got that little bit of a turn at the top where he separates his hands, and it's kind of a deceptive move. Watch right there. Quantrill had that move as well. Donaldson makes a catch on the sinking liner at third, 2 outs.
You know what that does is it keeps you over the rubber just a little bit longer. And it helps you to separate, get the ball out of the glove and get your arm up. Show them your back pocket. That's what the little leaguers are taught. And he's got plenty of fastball. His fastball's hit 95 tonight.
Yeah, and that's why going to the bullpen, you know, it's shorter stints. He can be a little more aggressive and kind of empty the tank over the course of a couple innings. Jose Altuve, 2 more hits tonight. And pushing back with that first pitch. Altuve had 2 hits in 3 trips last night. He was given an intentional walk. Altuve has been walked intentionally 6 times already this year.
Well, 225 hits will do that.
Well, and you look at the rest of the batting averages in this lineup, and they say, you know what? This guy hits 330. Everybody else hits 200. I'll take my chances. Bear comes right at him. 95 with little sink.
Yeah, I like that. The pitch before that looked like that brand new cutter that he picked up this season. Just a little something to get it off the barrel or back.
Good pitch. That comeback fastball. Altuve strikes at Tepera in front of family and friends. Retires the side in order in his home state of Texas.
In the Toronto FC head to Foxborough to face Charlie Davies and the New England Revolution. 360. Yes, it's tomorrow on Sportsnet, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. TFC up in action. The season got started just as we were leaving town last Sunday. Number 9 hitter is Steve Collison. The Blue Jays are within striking distance. It's 7-4 Houston.
Yeah, I love this, how Dallas Keuchel's come back out here for the 7th inning. He ran into some trouble last inning, faced 7 batters. Managers will normally figure he's slowing down just a little bit.
Well, he may be. Collison starts things off with a leadoff single. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. We'll excuse you for that, Jamie. That was a natural segue, of course.
Hey,
the fire department is on hand.
You don't have to go very far to get some water. It's right on the Ohio River, right?
Devin Travis tried to check his swing. It looked like he made up his mind and then changed it halfway through his stroke.
He has got a hole on the right side of the infield that he can shoot for now that there is a runner at first. Look at that. Take a shot over there. Get something started here in the 7th.
Coming inside. Boy, isn't that interesting? Castro picked up on that, and that's why they're playing him the way they did. Keuchel has stayed away from everybody, and they know that Devin Travis hits the ball the opposite field. So instead of moving the defense to cover up for those 17 hits to the right side, they pitch him inside and play him straight away. This one's pulled foul on the left side. Yeah, Keuchel's not an accident. He's won 6 straight games going back to last season, 6 straight decisions. He's 4-0 this season. This is his 8th start as all the teams are through their 8th time in a rotation. There's a base hit for Travis. Donaldson will check in at second. Just like that, Donaldson represents the tying run. Again, and we've seen this so often as A.J. Hinch comes out. Travis stays on this pitch away and just goes with the pitch.
Pretty good pitch right there from Keuchel, but it's the 4th time through that Devin Travis has seen him, and with that great plate coverage, sends that ball back to the middle, and the Blue Jays have something going.
So Keuchel starts the 7th, can't get a batter out. He gives up a pair of singles, and the crowd appreciates his effort. He'll leave with a lead. Will Harris into the ball game. He'll work to Donaldson with 2 aboard, and Donaldson represents the tying run. Well, Harris into the game for the 14th appearance, and we told you this is a good bullpen, and Harris is one of the guys and the reason they've turned things around so dramatically.
Look at those numbers. Righties 077, lefties just 100, averaging 11 strikeouts. He was cleaned off waivers from Arizona last November. No doubt A.J. Hinch saw him in the Arizona organization. He cuts his fastball, and it's about 92, 93 miles an hour, and he's got a very good curveball. Comes right after you.
He pitched his college baseball at LSU. He and his brother actually pitched together there. Donaldson, a half-hearted swing. He had him pitch on his mind and offered at that.
He's going to be around the plate. Witness those 4 walks. That's all he's given up this year. 4 base on balls.
Harris spent some time in the Oakland organization in 2013. He was claimed by Oakland off the waiver wire from Colorado. He, like so many pitchers in the game today, has gone through Tommy John surgery. Missed all of 2010.
Yeah, Tommy John surgery and microfracture surgery in his elbow, which is very rare. But he has come all the way back.
Off-speed pitch that gets away from Castro, but runners have to hold. Donaldson strikes out.
That's his best pitch right there. He's got the fastball that we told you, cut a little bit, and a curveball. And that's where he picks up a lot of his strikeouts with that good overhand curveball.
Well, we had mentioned the bullpen and how much it's improved, and you take a look at the two bullpens in this game. Houston has a distinct advantage. ERA 2.05. Opponents hitting under 200. The whip under 1, and they are 13 for 17 in saves. Bautista pops it up. Shortstop Gonzalez calls for it. Infield fly rule in effect. Bautista is retired on the pop-out. When you have a good bullpen, it doesn't make any difference where you are in the opponent's lineup. You come in, you fire strikes, you get out of the innings, and you pick up your starter. The two runners on base are the responsibility of the starter, Dallas Keuchel.
You know, if you have a good bullpen, it doesn't matter lefties or righties. You can get them both out. So many times you've got your bullpen full of guys who can only get right-handers out, or they can only get left-handers out. That really hamstrings a manager.
And then the manager has to make more moves than he wants to.
This guy right here, he's only given up 5 hits all year.
Started this series, the Astros had the biggest improvement in their bullpen from last year to this in all of baseball. Ball on a strike. The Blue Jays are down by 3. Houston has out-hit them 10-8. They've out-homered them 2-0.
Those are perfect pitches. You know, if you're Edwin Encarnacion, there's nothing you could do about that. Just hope that he makes a mistake and gets it out over the plate where you can pull it, hit it out of here.
Curveball strikes him out. The Blue Jays get to 2 first batters on base. Harris comes out of the bullpen to retire Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion to strand a pair.
Season game live or on demand. It's in true HD, and you'll have real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and much more. It also includes a free At-Bat 15 subscription. Watch baseball at home, at the office, or on the go. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. And a look at that app tonight, Buck. You see that the Blue Jays are getting some help in the American League East because the Yankees are losing. The Baltimore Orioles have already lost, and the Tampa Bay Rays are tied with the Minnesota Twins.
And Boston is out in Seattle. They are scoreless in the top of the first out there. Kansas City beating New York, and the Royals have a 2-1 lead, bottom of the 6th in Kansas City. There's a long drive to the right. No-doubter, Luis Valbuena into the second deck. That's the first hit allowed by Ryan Tepera.
Where did this power come from? Luis Valbuena, number 9 on the season, his 15th RBI. And he was waiting for that first pitch. Tepera throws it right down the middle, and he loses it into the second deck here at Minute Maid Park.
Valbuena, that's his 9th home run. His career high is 12. That came 2 years ago with the Cubs. This is a homer hitting ball club. They are first in the American League in home runs, and Valbuena put a charge in that one. 3 homers on the night for Houston. Springer, Altuve, and now Valbuena.
Each one of them a little bit further than the next. The one Springer hit to right center field, that was impressive. Just to the left of the bullpens in right field.
Yeah, that's a long way out there in deep center field. And Springer strikes out. So Springer 1 for 4. Second strikeout since entering the game for Ryan Tepera. Evan Gattis has gone 1 for 3. He's the DH tonight.
The Houston Astros are only carrying 3 players on their bench. 9 relievers and 3 players on their bench, so not a lot that A.J. Hinch could do here. You got the lead. There's no sense burning a player when you only have 3 of them to go to.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason you just stick right here with Evan Gattis. They've got Colby Rasmus on the bench, but there's no reason to make a move until you have to. Hank Conger and Jonathan Villar are both switch hitters. They could hit as well. Conger's the backup catcher.
They are going with 4 starters and 9 relievers, at least until Monday, when the 5th spot opens up one more time.
We have heard talk that there's going to be a youngster come up and make a debut on Monday.
That is Lance McCullers.
No, Colby Rasmus did not start tonight, but Lance McCullers is one of the top prospects in their organization.
Another high draft pick that has come through their organization. Started in AA and moved to AAA yesterday. But then the Astros announced today that he's just going to keep moving and coming here, and he's going to make that start on Monday.
He's going to make a little stop in AAA to do a side session.
That's right.
Ball is spiked in the ground by Tepera. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Evan Gattis. Tepera had worked 4 innings without allowing a hit until the leadoff home run to Valbuena here this inning. Eight for Houston. Each time the Blue Jays inch closer, the Astros come back and regain that run.
And they do it with the home run. Altuve's home run was a backbreaker.
That was a 3-run home run in the 4th. The Blue Jays had made it 4-1 at that point. Then Altuve with his second hit. He's got 5 home runs already. He's their best player, and he's the guy that drives the bus. He keeps everybody going, keeps everybody grounded. Gaddis bounces it to third. Donaldson throws him out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He was also touched up for 10 hits in that ball game. He didn't have any walks. He's been that consistent all year long. Chris Young, the big right-hander that Kansas City signed late in the offseason, is the starting pitcher for the Royals. He is now out of the game. Franklin Morales is in relief.
How about the moves the Kansas City Royals made this offseason after going to the World Series? They lose James Shields, but Chris Young, what a perfect pickup for them.
Mason Castro gets hit with that first pitch. So he'll go to first, hit by a pitch. Now, you mentioned Kansas City. They were able to pick up Kendrys Morales, Alex Rios. They picked up Chris Young. And they've done a terrific job of keeping that team in motion. They also added Edinson Volquez, the veteran right-hander. Their bullpen is getting healthy again.
Yeah, Holland is back, and all the young players that came up through the farm system, which is the backbone of that team, they've taken the next step in their development. They're good.
This is Preston Tucker. Tucker, 2 more doubles tonight. He had 2 in last night's game. He has 5 hits in the first 2 games of this series. Finish up thought on Kansas City. You look at their batting averages in the game tonight. Escobar's hitting .310. Moustakas is hitting .331. Kane is hitting .315. Hosmer .333. Morales, the DH, .297. Gordon, the Gold Glove fielder, .278. And Perez, the catcher, .285. They're swinging it.
Is that good?
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And this time of the year, mid-May, you've played about 5 weeks. That's a pretty good gauge right there.
You get about 100 at-bats. Most regulars have about 100 at-bats. The leader on the Blue Jays is Donaldson, who came into this game with 141. Encarnacion 135. Pilar 139. So you're well into the season. Ball is hit to center. Pilar came in a few steps. Now he backs up, and Tucker's retired. But Valbuena hits another home run, 3rd home run of the night, and it has stretched the lead once again to 8-4 Astros.
.ca/baseball and get an extended 60-day free trial. Buck?
Well, I'm sure next issue we'll consider the Houston Astros for a story, because they have been a great baseball story this year when you look at what they have done. And new pitcher into the ball game is Chad Qualls. Qualls picked up the save in last night's game, his 4th of the season.
And he will come in now tonight and pitch the 8th inning. Here are the numbers from the veteran. 17 strikeouts, again, just 3 walks for Chad Qualls. His best pitch is that running 2-seam fastball. He's also got a slider. He's got good command with that slider, and he'll throw it a lot to the right-handers.
Qualls will face Russell Martin to start the 8th. Well, there's that swing back fastball. It's so effective. It's off the plate when you have to make a decision as a hitter, and then it swings back over the outside corner.
Yeah, he's been around. He has pitched for the Astros, team up with the Astros, pitched for the Diamondbacks and the Rays. There's a slider foul back. Padres, Phillies, Yankees, Pirates, Marlins, and now back with the Astros. He's been around. Nothing's going to surprise him. You know, the Blue Jays drafted him in 1997. They drafted him in the 52nd round as a draft and follow, and did not sign with the Blue Jays. Went back to college, and here he is all these years later.
Pitched at the University of Nevada, Reno. Good baseball school. Martin rolls over and hits the grounder to third. Balbuena has it. Qualls has the first out here in the 8th. Balbuena's been a nice addition to this ball club, and when we first talked to the Astros in the spring, I think we were both surprised.
Yeah.
They were adamant that he was going to be their regular third baseman.
They had a player here, Dominguez, last year, hit a lot of home runs for him. But Balbuena has come over here. He took that third base job, and he's putting together a pretty good first half. Fielding, and hit his 9th home run already.
Danny Valencia had 2 hits, including a 2-run double off of Dallas Keuchel. Valencia hasn't fared as well against right-handed pitching, just 3 for 20. That's a 150 average. But now with 2 more hits against lefties, he is 12 for 22 against left-handed pitching this season.
For his career, came into this game up over 330.
Two and one. The Blue Jays got to within 3 runs with 3 runs in the top half of the 6th. But Balbuena had a long home run into the second deck in the bottom of the 7th. Now it's 8-4 Houston.
You know, we talked about their bullpen and what a job Harris did last inning. Tight situation.
First and second, nobody out. He's got to deal with Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion. He got strikeouts of Donaldson and Encarnacion, and popped up Bautista. Little tapper back to the mound. Qualls takes his time. 2 down. But you know, that's an outing that'll get overlooked by a lot of people, but not the manager or the pitching coach of Houston. As Harris came in right there, maybe the toughest part of the ball game. Blue Jays trying to get back into the game. I mean, there's going to be a hold for that, but a lot of people argue that's when the game was saved, right there in that 7th inning.
I'll make that argument. That for me, that's what it was. It was a 3-run game at the time, and the tying runs, either one of those guys, Donaldson, Bautista, or Encarnacion, couldn't hit the ball out of the ballpark. Any one of them. And they didn't get the ball out of the infield.
Here is Chris Colabello. 2 more hits tonight for Colabello. Chris is hitting .486 since his call up. And he has hit left-handers and right-handers. It makes no difference. This time he grounds to short. Gonzalez makes a nice play of it. How about 3 ground ball outs for Chad Qualls here in the 8th? We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Houston leads at 8-4. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zong. It's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
It was 4-1 in the 4th inning when Jose Altuve, with a couple of men on board, sends this ball to left center field. It's deep and out of here. Over the fence for the home run. That was his 5th home run of the season. And tonight, that 3-run home run is our drive of the game.
Certainly a big turning point for Houston at that point of the ball game. Altuve, another 2-hit night tonight. 2 for 4 with his 5th home run of the season. Liam Hendricks into the ball game for the 12th time.
Trying to throw up a 0 here tonight. In the 8th inning, there's Liam's numbers in 11 games. No record with a very good earned run average of 3.14. His strikeouts have spiked up this year. He's got 14 in 13 in the 3rd innings of relief.
Carter, Gonzalez, and Marisnick as Carter goes after the first pitch and drives the ball to center field, 1 down.
Fans of Blue Jays have some great matchups coming up here in the month of May, beginning next week when the Angels come to town, beginning Victoria Day for a 107 game. Then it's the White Sox, May 27th, a 12:37 game, and also coming to town, the Seattle Mariners. Lots of great baseball here in the month of May, coming up with the Blue Jays, with the Angels, Mariners, and White Sox. Buck?
Barry, we will see King Felix Hernandez on Friday night. He's scheduled to pitch against Mark Burley in that opener of the Seattle series, and Canadian James Paxton will go up against Sanchez on Saturday. Lots of good pitching coming up, and the Angels are in town. They'll start it all off on Victoria Day. C.J. Wilson against Aaron Sanchez in the opening. This is Marwin Gonzalez, the shortstop. Gonzalez had an RBI single in that 3-run 2nd inning that got the Astros off and running. The bottom 3 in the order drove in single runs each, and the Astros were off and running.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to hold them to just 1 run. But then the 8 and 9 hitters came up with base hits to drive in runs. Altuve also singled when they turned the lineup over. And what looked like just 1 run ended up being 3.
Liam Hendricks in relief of Ryan Tepera. Tepera gives up the first hit since coming to the big leagues, and it was a memorable one, a long home run to Luis Valbuena. Tepera, 2 innings of 1-hit relief, had a couple of strikeouts. Bouncing ball. Donaldson was wide of the bag at third. 2 outs. Center fielder is Jake Marisnick batting. Double barrel action. Josh Fields and Jake Buchanan going. Qualls only threw 11 pitches, so he might come out and finish this game. Bouncing ball to short. Collison gathers it and fires to first. Good inning for Liam Hendricks. He puts up a 0 in the bottom of the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. It'll be Pilar, Collison, and Devin Travis when we come back.
Playoffs and Toronto Blue Jays. Shop tsc.ca. Buck.
Thank you, Barry. We have made it to the 9th, and for the Blue Jays, it'll be Pilar, and then a pinch hitter, Ryan Goins, and back to the top of the order. The Blue Jays trail 8-4. New pitcher into the ball game will be the right-hander, Josh Fields.
We saw Josh last night very briefly, though, just 2/3 of an inning. He faced Kevin Pilar. That was in the, Carrera got a sacrifice fly, and then Travis a fly ball. There are his numbers this year. He throws hard. Good fastball and a good overhand curveball.
Kevin Pilar walked, struck out, and reached on a fielder's choice. Broken bat, grounded to short. Gonzalez fires to first in time. 1 out. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central. Here's Jackie Redmond and Ken Reed. Ryan Goins will pinch hit for Steve Tollison. Tollison started at shortstop, went 1 for 3 tonight. Goins played last night, was 0 for 4, but hit the ball sharply. First pitch strike. Ryan's had a good road trip. He's really hit in some tough luck.
Yeah, he really has. He's hit the ball hard.
Delman Young made a good running catch on him in Baltimore to take away an extra base hit. A couple times here in this series, he's hit the ball right at the infield.
That might have changed that game in Baltimore if that ball falls. He's had a good night already. He was able to bring out the lineup card tonight.
Yeah, but he won't be happy about it unless they come back and win it.
Exactly.
He hit that ball on Monday night in the alley in right center in Baltimore, and Delman Young ran it down with his back to the infield. Looked like it was a sure double, possible triple. 2-1, 1 out. Now it's 3-1. Travis is on deck, top of the order. Fouled out of play. We want to mention a great anniversary tonight. It's Ron Sandelli and his wife Marge's 50th wedding anniversary. Ron is a part of our traveling parties, always with the Blue Jays. He represents the security portion of it, but we want to congratulate both Ron and Marge for their 50th wedding anniversary.
That's awesome.
Good people.
He was a great guy.
Going strikes out, foul tip held on to by the catcher.
Told you he's got a good fastball. Feels, reaches back for a little something extra there. That fastball can reach 95, 96 miles an hour. And with a 4-run lead, you're facing the number 9 hitter. Here it is. See if you can hit it.
Top of the order, Devin Travis had a single in the 7th. The Astros bullpen last night pitched 2 2/3, allowed just 1 hit. This is the 3rd inning of work for the bullpen tonight. They have not allowed a hit. And they've retired 8 straight.
They are hitting superb pitching this year. That is why they're in first place.
The Astros 22-13.
Best start ever. And they've had some pretty good teams here.
They played in the World Series in 2005. Upstairs. 2 balls and 2 strikes to the Blue Jays' second baseman. Strike 3, ball game. What a job by the bullpen. 3 innings of relief, 9 up, 9 down, with 4 strikeouts.